Hello and welcome to the Reddit room. Nice to meet you. I'm John. Today Jane will be telling you some stories from the Today I F'd Up subreddit. Please enjoy.
Today I effed up by telling Airport TSA I had C4 in my lunchbox, posted by Skylon Tech. Yikes. How did that happen? Well, to start off I just want to mention that this was during my first week of employment at an airport. Around this time, I was hitting the gym pretty frequently and was into trying different pre-workout and protein drinks. Just trying to make more healthy life choices and such. Now I've never been much of a coffee drinker in the mornings. I don't mind the taste, but I find most coffees are accompanied by a bitter aftertaste that tends to not go away for a while. So in lieu of coffee I made the switch to pre-workout drink mixes as an alternative. For those of you who are unfamiliar with pre-workout drinks, they're basically a powdered dietary supplement that you add to water, packed with amino acids, vitamins, and caffeine, which helps provide endurance for an extra good workout. I figured this would be a good choice to help kick off my day, allowing me to be a little extra productive at work in the mornings. So every day, I would pack my lunch box with a sandwich, some chips, 2 granola bars, and a bottle of pre-workout. This is where the good stuff starts. So being employed at an airport means that I must subject myself to random searches at any time whenever requested. This doesn't happen too frequently, but it does happen. As I was walking in one morning, I made my way into the building and up a flight of stairs, then ventured down the hall towards my office. Towards the end of the hall there was a small line of employees and none other than a TSA agent screening them. I walked my way over to the line and waited patiently for my turn. Once I finally made it to the front, the TSA agent asked what I had in my backpack and my lunchbox before searching, so I ran down the list. Well, in my backpack I have 2 laptops, a notebook, some pens, and a phone charger. In my lunchbox I have a sandwich, some chips, 2 granola bars, and some C4.
What was that last part?
The TSA officer asked with somewhat of a stutter to his voice. I raised an eyebrow. In my lunchbox I just have a sandwich, chips, granola bars, and some C4. I repeated, realizing what I've just done last second. Just to add some insight, the brand of pre-workout that I had was none other than C4, just some stuff you could buy at Walmart for explosive energy, as their slogan describes. At this point the TSA officer had his eyes wide open, and was as white as a ghost. I chuckled nervously. Wait, it's not that type of C4, let me show you. As I go to reach for my phone to bring up an image of the stuff, the TSA officer sternly says,
"Don't put your hands anywhere, step back by the wall and wait."
I follow his orders, stood next to the wall, bricks coming down my pants, realizing the full scope of the situation I was in. In less than a minute, police and K9 units show up. I was detained and handcuffed almost immediately, and the officers started questioning as the dogs went to work sniffing away at my baggage. After about 5 minutes of explaining, a destroyed lunch, and a backpack that had its contents scattered everywhere, everyone starts breaking into a laughter as I stood there with my heart pounding out of my chest, still handcuffed, sighing with relief. Thankfully the police officer I was talking with was familiar with the product, and everyone coughed it up as a big hilarious misunderstanding. Somehow the story spread quickly, and from that day on I became known as the new guy who got handcuffed his first week on the job. Now whenever I see the TSA guy, he joking says C4, as we both laugh. It was certainly one of my more eventful experiences on the job. TLDR, I drink a pre-workout drink called C4. One morning I had it in my lunchbox, and told a TSA officer about it while being screened. He freaked out, called the police, and everyone eventually laughed at the big misunderstanding as I was left to pick up my destroyed lunch and belongings.
Yeah, OP, I must admit that is a pretty big F up. I bet you won't do that again, ever. Ha 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 ha.
Today I effed up by accidentally dosing my entire adult family with LSD, posted by Severu Snape. This happened a couple of weeks ago at Thanksgiving. My boyfriend and I recently moved into a bigger place together with a few spare bedrooms and a large kitchen, and to celebrate we decided to host Thanksgiving at our house this year. Usually all family meals are held at my aunt's house, but she recently got divorced and unfortunately had to sell the house. This year we wanted to invite everyone we could since 2020 was limited to just my parents and my boyfriend's mom. We invited my parents, BF's mom, 3 aunts of mine, 2 uncles, and 6 cousins, all between the ages between 10 and 19. We prepared for 2 days leading up to Thanksgiving. We made pretty much everything ourselves except for a few appetizers. I've recently been getting into baking, so as a treat for the adults I made some edible hard candies with a small, 10 mg, dose of THC in each candy. We had dinner early around 4 p.m., and all the kids were in the media room playing a racing game on the PlayStation. Once everyone finished their food, we asked the adults if they'd like to partake in my edible experiment, and being a California family fairly used to cannabis, everyone agreed. We had our candies and waited roughly 1 hour, and when nobody was feeling anything, we decided to have another. I figured the amount of food we had just consumed plus my novice edible producing skills led to a dead batch, so I reached way back in the fridge to get the jar of store-bought gummies I had purchased months ago from a dispensary. I found the gummies, but they were in a plastic baggie instead of a jar. I assumed my boyfriend had repurposed the jar or transferred them to a bag when we moved. Every adult in the family had one gummy, and we decided to take a little walk, but my boyfriend stayed behind to keep an eye on the kids. We left around 5:20 and started to feel our gummies around 15 minutes into the walk. The sky seemed to be a brighter shade of orange after the sunset, and a few of us got the giggles. Around 30 minutes after we left the house, I got a call from my BF sounding very nervous as he asked, "Did you get these gummies from the jar or from the baggie?" I told him the baggie and received a large sigh in response. Then it hit me. We had eaten the gummies from the dispensary with friends on the night of our move. We had lots to drink that night, and it totally slipped my mind. These gummies were 2 to 3 years old LSD gummies we had purchased for a music festival in 2018. My boyfriend didn't have to say anything for me to realize the enormity of the fuck-up I had made. I told him to stay calm and not to let the kids leave the media room until we got home. He hid the remaining gummies in our room, and I told my family we should probably head back. The next 20 to 30 minutes of our walk back were filled with laughter and lots of pit stops to examine Christmas lights, mailboxes, and trees my family members were enormously impressed by. I, on the other hand, was trying my best to figure out how to tell my parents, aunts, uncles, and soon-to-be mother-in-law that instead of a small dose of weed, which they were all familiar with and used to, they were in for a 8 to 10 hour experience with good old Lucy. I decided to wait until we were home in case any of them freaked out. We arrived home and all of the family members were in stitches laughing at each other's jokes and impersonations. I asked my boyfriend for advice, but he seemed overwhelmed and just wanted to go lie down for a bit. My 19-year-old cousin said he'd watch the kids, so I went back upstairs to join my family. I realized that as far as accidental druggings go, this was a pretty ideal situation except for the half-5 minors in the house. I took my now fully tripping family out onto the porch to sit around the fireplace and calmly informed them that they had each taken 125 micrograms of LSD instead of the 15 mg of THC I told them they had taken. My mom and one of my aunts started to hyperventilate a bit, and my BF's mom went to find her son. I calmed my family down, and they all quickly became enthralled with a fire pit and the stars, briefly interrupted by the occasional question about trip length and asking if the kids were being taken care of. They called me an idiot, and I agreed with their judgment. I left them outside to enjoy the stars and went to check on the kids and my BF and his mom. The kids were all eating popcorn, watching Star Wars, and hardly noticed me coming in, but my oldest cousin could tell I was out of sorts, and I had to clue him in. He laughed and once again asserted my idiocy, and I once again conferred. He told me not to worry and that he'd put all the kids to bed and to just relax and have fun with the family. I checked in on my BF and his mom, and they both started howling with laughter when they saw my defeated face enter the room. I finally started to join in the laughter, making fun of the ridiculous situation I had gotten us all into. They gave me a hug and we went out to join the rest of my family. They were all in different zones. The uncles were focused on collecting more firewood and trying my collection of whiskeys. The aunts and my mom were intently listening to each other tell stories and staring at their wine glasses. One of them was playing Candy Crush and had a huge grin on her face. My BF sat down with me on a couch and his mom joined the aunts, and the next several hours were as wonderful a family gathering I had ever experienced. We all spent hours talking and laughing and drinking, sometimes getting lost in the bathroom or kitchen, but mostly spending our time outside. Everyone handled themselves incredibly well, and I think it probably led to my BF's mom feeling much more included in my family than she had before. A few people had trouble sleeping, but they just put on the old I Love Lucy episodes until their trips ended and they passed out. Overall, it could have gone so much worse, and I'm so grateful that nobody got hurt or was too overwhelmed. I think the acid had lost some of its potency, which certainly worked for our benefit this time. The next morning the kids made breakfast for everyone and it absolutely trashed the kitchen, but I didn't mind. We had breakfast and I received a few more jeers from my family, and they informed me that they wouldn't be imbibing in any gummies at Christmas, but it was all in good fun. TLDR, gave my family what I thought were weed gummies at Thanksgiving, turned out to be LSD. Edit. Forgot to mention that after the kids were put to bed while we were still outside by the fire, we got into impersonations, and somehow my Trump impersonation came through, complete with hand gestures, the voice, mannerisms, and the asshole-shaped lips. I stayed in character for 45 plus minutes while my family laughed and kept up their own characters. A few times one of the kids would come out asking for something and Trump would order them back to their room. This turned into a game with the kids where they would come out to get scolded by the loud orange man inside me. Eventually I had to break character, not as easy as one would think, so that they would finally leave us tripping adults alone.
Damn OP, I cannot imagine accidentally dosing my family with LSD. Your family seemed quite chill about it. I'm sure you all had a jolly old time and became closer after this. I'm sure this story is gonna be told for years to come.
Today I effed up by being an ungrateful jerk at Christmas, posted by then temperature 5548. So, we do a secret Santa at my office.
Okay OP, reading the title, I mean it's not looking good for you, but I was expecting like a family Christmas evening, but no, it's a office thing. This is already so much worse.
We have to fill out these questionnaire sheets about 2 weeks beforehand so people can get an idea of what to get you. I fill out my sheet like the conceited person I am, wanting to share info about myself rather than think, oh, this is stuff people may actually get me. Yeah, good job on my part. Flash forward to this week, I get my first package. It's a packet of saltine crackers, so I chuckle and roll my eyes because I already think I know who it's from. There's a guy down the hall who doesn't have any reason to be down my end of the hallway, and he walked by my office 3 times yesterday morning. He and I don't get along, so because of the crackers and the frequent visits I assume it's him. Whatever, I think. Now, these crackers have a peanut butter spread in them that I cannot eat due to being diabetic, so I throw them on the freebie table and move on with my day, making a comment to my friend that I'm laughingly annoyed at my unusable gift, but again, not a really big deal. So, cut to today, I get my next gift. It's a box of caramel corn. Again, can't eat it. So now I'm flustered because I think, I put no food on my sheet to avoid this situation. It's too much of a hassle to expect people to adhere to my dietary restrictions when they're no one else's problem, so it's just easier to say no food. So that same coworker friend says, well, what else did you put on your sheet? Maybe there won't be food tomorrow. Being the huffy puffy D-bag I am, I pull up my sheet and sure enough under my favorite snacks, my dumbass listed caramel corn. Why? Because I'm an idiot. So now I sit here, feeling like the biggest jerk ever because not only did I make a fuss about it, I completely forgot what I put on my sheet and this person was just doing what they were supposed to. So yeah, if y'all need me, I'll be in the shame corner. Happy holidays everyone. TL. Dr. I forgot I put a food I couldn't eat on my list of things I'd like for Secret Santa, received that exact item and then bitched about it, not remembering it was my fault, and now I'm a jerk and I feel bad.
Now having read the whole story, this is just plain stupid. Yes, you are the asshole. Yes, you effed up big time. Moving on.
Today I effed up by misunderstanding my allergy test, posted by Franker. So starting about 2 months ago, I developed a full body, 24/7, burning itch, no visible rashes or anything of the sort. Obviously the first reaction is to assume it's an allergic reaction, but I'd made no changes to my diet, detergents, haven't been anywhere exotic, complete mystery, nothing to be done but to start popping antihistamines and to try see a doctor. This was a nightmare due to the fact that my usual doctor had a COVID outbreak in their practice and were shut down for the time being. No other GP would take new patients. During this time the reaction was just getting worse and worse. Hives started popping up everywhere, rashes the works. I'm barely sleeping at this stage, maybe an hour or 2 a night. Every waking moment is focused on how unbearably itchy I am. Finally, I managed to swing an appointment for an allergy screening with a different doctor. The chap takes about half the blood in my body out for testing, says the results will be back in a few days. Got on some nuke equivalent antihistamines and steroids to try calm things down. As the week is going on it's still progressively getting worse, but I'm in high spirits with the light at the end of the tunnel that at least I'll figure out why my body is having a meltdown. A week passes hearing nothing from the GP, so I call them up asking for the doc to ring me back when he gets the chance. The conversation went something like this.
So I have the results here. Sorry, I have been snowed under with work. Your test came back with some significant allergies.
Go on.
So firstly dust mites, a serious reading on that one.
Yeah, I knew that one.
The only other big one is that grass.
Grass?
Grass.
I was really devastated. My one true love Mary Jane was trying to kill me. I didn't even smoke a lot. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week, mainly weekends, with a few drinks with the lads. But I love the stuff. My family and friends all found it to be beyond hilarious despite how disappointed I was. I didn't even think it was possible to be allergic to grass, but the doctor said what he said. I was thinking back to some sketchy weed I'd bought. It's illegal in my country, which smelled strange and tasted strange. That must have been it. It must have been sprayed with some synthetic cannabinoids which overloaded or tripped some kind of alarm in my body. It did kind of make sense because I had started smoking more to take my mind off the itching and to help me sleep. And looking back on it, that did seem to make it worse. A lot worse. I was happy that at least I had an answer, something to work with. So stopped smoking. Cut to today. It's been 3 weeks since last smoking with absolutely zero, nada, changes to the reaction. I developed a full-blown skin infection from the scratching, which thankfully is being sorted by my old GP reopening. He also laughed for a good 5 minutes when I told him the results. I'm thinking at this stage that something fishy is going on, so I ring up the GP I had gotten the test from, asking to see the full report. So doctor who had told me I was allergic to weed had a very strong accent, and we discussed it over a less than perfect phone signal. Seeing the actual results written out on paper gave me a mixed sense of relief, frustration, and embarrassment, and honestly I'm a fucking moron for not requesting the paperwork sooner, and full extra month of going through this hell with it getting progressively worse for no fucking reason. Wheat. I'm allergic to wheat. It seemed to get worse when I was smoking because I'd get a serious case of the munchies where I'd go through a metric shit ton of cereal and peanut butter toast. I don't even know if this is a better or worse result. What I do know is I'm going to the moon later. TLDR. Thought I was allergic to weed and had to say goodbye to it when I was actually allergic to weed, and my doctor just has a strong accent. Asked to see the actual paperwork, people. Don't be an idiot like me suffering for an extra month for no good reason. Edit. The advice and stories from everyone has been so helpful and heartwarming. It's really made me less stressed about this change in my life. Thank you all.
This is so funny. How could you think that in a country where grass is illegal, they would test for something like that in an allergy test? All in all, I hope you are doing much better now.
Today I effed up by making my hookup believe I was going to kill her with an axe during intercourse, posted by Pato Aceves. So this just happened last night. I recently moved to a new city to start a business. I rented a nice apartment where I live by myself, and I'm currently in the process of getting to know the city and meet new people. Last weekend I went to a big party, luckily low cases of COVID in this new city, and I met a very pretty girl who had also just arrived to the city as a student at the university this last August. I asked for her phone number, asked her out, and went out to a bar a couple of nights after we met. We had a nice evening. Had some drinks, but nothing happened after that. We both went our separate ways. Yesterday afternoon I asked her if she wanted to come over and hang out at my apartment. I believe we both knew there was great chemistry between us, and she agreed to come later at night. She arrived to my place. We started talking, listening to music and having some beers. All of a sudden, she noticed something unusual leaning on the window frame next to my bed. From the dining table, she could see inside my room and very cautiously asked if what was leaning on the window was an axe. I laughed and said yes. I described it as my last line of defense in case someone wanted to break into my apartment. It is a fairly basic axe for chopping small medium pieces of wood that I mostly use when I'm out for camping and have to gather some wood for building a fire. I even went for the axe and showed it to her. She grabbed it, analyzed it, weighed it. We even joked about how she would attack the intruder should the occasion arise. That topic ended. I returned the axe to its place at the window next to my bed and continued talking. The night progressed. We moved the conversation to the couch in front of the TV. We started having a sexy time and eventually ended up in my bed. We were probably 10 minutes into the deed when I realized that it was super hot in my room and all the action was not helping. At this moment she was on top of me and I asked her to stop. I stretched my arm towards the window frame in search of the remote control to turn on the AC, when I noticed a brutal change of expression on her face. Her eyes widened and even her mouth fell open for a few moments. I stopped short and asked her what was wrong. Was there a problem? She almost without being able to speak asked me why was I going for the axe. To please stop. Take into consideration that I had just met her a little over a week ago and it was the first night we were alone in a room. It took me like 5 awkward seconds to process that she thought I was going to grab the axe and probably ram it into her in some explicit fashion as we talked about a few hours ago. I burst out laughing and told her not to worry, that I was just going to turn on the AC and immediately took the remote control and turned it on. I saw how her facial expressions relaxed and she burst out laughing as well. We laughed at the situation for a minute and then carried on where we left. I'm keeping my axe out of sight from now on for obvious reasons, ha. TLDR, I made my hookup believe that I'm a murderous psychopath and was about to kill her with an axe during intercourse.
I'm just wondering what this girl is thinking, and why this was her first thought when you went for the window. Also, you would expect to go for a surprise attack, instead of asking her to pause, in the middle of it, so you could potentially grab the axe. I'm not so sure this is an actual F up on your part, OP.
You're not done listening to the Reddit room? Click here for the next video. And subscribe for more content.